Mighty China, Shanghai, my stainless steel HERMS coil. So if you've ever looked on Alibaba and wondered what these are like, here's one in the flesh. I was quite concerned about the ports being off center, but there's a heap of spring in those, so they should line up nicely, and I can swap out my dirty copper coil that I've got in the HERMS rig. So go to Alibaba, and I think it was landed for about 140 bucks or so, so stoked with that. So here's my 36 litre stainless pot. Nice thick wall, I think it's about 1.2 mil. Had to enlarge the holes for my HERMS coil because they're a bit tight before. Got a little bit of buckling in there, but I fixed that with a hammer and dolly. So never drill your holes just the right size, drill them a little bit bigger, and that way you won't buckle them when you pull your HERMS coil in and out. So anyway, what I've decided, my infinite wisdom, is that I'm going to put the Sightglass just inside the handle there, give it a bit of protection. I've given it a quick little dot punch, and then I'll drill it out with a 3.5 mil. So I'm just going to use this stuff, CRC cutting liquid, and that'll give us a hole that shouldn't heat up and distort, and we'll drill it out with the step drill. So I'm just using one of these step drills. Some people don't rate them, but for something that's about 1.2 mil thick, no dramas, and I managed to get some quite clean holes, so I'm happy with that. So that hole's nearly through. As you can see, there's burr on the inside, but what I'll do is I'll just drill it from the inside, give it a clean up, and if you go from both sides, you tend to clear off any of those burrs. And as usual, if you go slow and use lots of lube, you'll have no dramas. You can see, if I fit this in here, this little compression fitting, it'll fit, but if it's too tight, it'll catch on those bits of thread, bugger your thread and distort your pot. So you want at least 0.5 mil either side of your thread as clearance. So that just shows you how in a big pot there's just enough clearance for the Hitachi, and we'll just clean up that hole. So there's our hole, pretty clean on the inside, so no burrs to worry about. I'll give it a tickle up with sandpaper, and then we can fit it. So I just double check with my finger, make sure I can't feel any burrs. Gave that a good old sand, but I'm happy with that because I don't want to damage the O-ring. So there she is, Sightglass installed. Better check. I think Bobby from Brew Hardware had a video about whether the washer goes in the inside of the pot or the outside, but makes sense that it's the outside, I think, so double check. And yeah, we can start fitting the HERMS coil, which I have shortened up. So you can see here, I've removed what equates to about 2¼ inches, somewhere between 50 and 60 mil of stainless tube. Did that with a pipe cutter, no dramas. I think this costs about 10 bucks New Zealand. So one of the best investments you can make, especially as I've been doing the plumbing in the house. Yeah, the HERMS coil just fits in there with a little bit of persuasion. Biggest pig was having to take off the old compression ferrules in there, the ferrule, the shiny silver bits inside it. They were originally on my copper coil, which has been decommissioned. Bit of a mission, but what I ended up using was the pipe cutter to cut the pipe, and just kept wiggling it in and out, and I eventually got the two bits out. I could have purchased this with the compression fittings, but seeing I'd already spent about $25 on each fitting anyway, I thought I'd reuse them, and because it was on copper, they came out pretty sweet. I've shortened up the Sightglass there, ended up using a fret saw, but junior hacksaw or something better. Had a bit of a go with the pipe cutter, but that was an offcut, and yeah, as you can see, it kind of does a really neat job, and then it wants to crack. So I end up using the pipe cutter to mark out where I wanted to cut it, and then use the fret saw with a fine blade. So there she is, the HLT with stainless coil. Bit of a bastard to get perfectly straight, but yeah, a lot better than our dungy old copper coil. So there's a comparison there. I think this is about 3.5 meter coil versus 25 foot, which is 6-7 meters, as opposed to 3.5. So yeah, you can see all the oxidization that starts up verdigris, so you don't want really any of that in your brew, so clean it off. So yeah, hopefully we can keep things nice and clean and spotless with our HERMS coil. Just checking for leaks. Little leak from the compression fitting, so we'll tighten that up and then have a good look at it. Righto, can't see any leaks coming from those compression fittings. Stoked with that. Any of you that have worked on a house before, done a bit of plumbing, can be a nightmare. Gave those compression fittings a decent nip up with a combination of the vise and the big wrench, and they're not leaking. So the HLT's all done. Hopefully no leaks. Can't see any at the moment. Proof will be in the pudding when might brew up an APA later on in the week, because it's school holidays. So I'm off for 2 weeks, and hopefully get some brews and some fishing done. Thanks for watching. Catch you next week.